One of the most highly anticipated moments of the year is finally here as Mike Matheson is ready to make his return tonight versus the Philadelphia Flyers. I'll be talking about that, plus Martin St. Louis spoke a bit about the questions on the Habs defense and who will be coming in and out of the lineup as Matheson makes his return. Finally, we're going to have a quick hitter at the end talking about this game tonight and exactly what Montreal is going to need to do to win, so you won't want to miss this edition of Habs Digest. Hello, bonjour, ahoy, and welcome to today's news and game preview edition of Habs Digest. I'm your host, Josh Gosse, and before we get into the video, you guys have been hitting the subscribe button like crazy. Now it's down to only 75% of you guys who are not subscribed. But that's still a lot of you, and if you're watching this daily content, you enjoy what we put out here at Habs Digest, please hit the subscribe button. We want to hit 5,000 by the end of the year. I know it seems like a crazy goal, but we hit 2,000 in about a month. Why can't we aim for 5,000? I want you guys to help us out by hitting that subscribe button and the like button, and we'd really, really appreciate it. So, let's talk about the big news today. Mike Matheson is finally returning to the Habs lineup. You know, in the offseason, we made that trade. Jeff Petrie and Ryan Poehling get sent over to the Pittsburgh Penguins. Petrie, of course, requesting a trade away from Montreal after that Stanley Cup final run. He wanted to play for a contender, not a bottom-feeding team. And you got to understand, from a veteran's perspective, he did a lot for this team, whether you like him or hate him. It is what it is. But we shipped him out, and we got Mike Matheson back. A cheaper contract, but a longer-term contract. But Matheson is a very mobile defenseman, once described by his former coach as sort of a one-man fast break who can come get the puck. And finally, the moment we've been waiting for, since we saw him dominate in the preseason for Montreal, the moment we've been waiting for is here. It's official that Mike Matheson will be making his Canadien debut tonight. Now, who's going to be coming out of the lineup, you ask? Well, Coach Martin St. Louis spoke and said that it is Jordan Harris coming out of the lineup for Mike Matheson. Says the decision is based off the type of lineup they need tonight against Philadelphia. I'll be talking a bit more about that in the next section, but I want you guys to sort of focus on Mike Matheson right now. He's the kind of player that I want to see quarterbacking one of our power plays. Maybe instead of Xhekaj, we can see Matheson coming in and sort of being that point man on the power play because he's quite offensive. He's not a bad defenseman, but last season in Pittsburgh, we saw he has some very good skating skills, very high offensive ability, and he can really bring a spark to this team that we haven't necessarily seen a whole lot from our defense. Sure, Kaiden Guhle has been great at, dumping the puck in, playing solid defense. Savard has a deke every now and then. Xhekaj, of course, a couple goals, but Mike Matheson's a little bit of a different player, and he'll be very, very exciting to watch once he finally steps on the ice tonight. Now, the other point behind this is that Jordan Harris is the one coming out of the lineup. To be honest, I thought they'd maybe go super heavy on the left-handed defenseman and scratch Kovacevic tonight, or maybe even Arber Xhekaj, because I thought Jordan Harris has been playing pretty well, but in the last couple games, Harris looks almost fatigued. I mean, he still only has 27, I believe, NHL games under his belt. Getting him some rest just to watch the team play in front of him is not necessarily a bad thing. Just give him a break. I'm sure he'll be back in the next game or two, maybe coming in for Kovacevic or Xhekaj, who knows. But yeah, Matheson's taking Harris's spot, which I thought was interesting. And that sort of leads us into our second topic here. Coach Martin St. Louis was asked, of course, about the defense, because with Matheson coming back, it kind of creates a backlog of defensemen for Montreal. We have a lot of D-men who are definitely worthy of playing. At the start of the season, Kovacevic was a waiver wire pickup. Arber Xhekaj was some guy that really not a lot of us knew a whole lot about, but he cracked the NHL roster, and we thought, well, maybe he'll get sent down if the defense is healthy. But no, he's staying around. So is Jordan Harris. Kaiden Guhle is playing phenomenally. So what happens? What do they do from here? Coach Martin St. Louis said this. That's not the right. I want to get to the end of this tweet. Here we go. For now, St. Louis said there will be a rotation between Harris, Xhekaj, and Kovacevic. Now, I know this tweet was up in the last slide, but I wanted to talk more about this specifically in this chapter of the video. So, a rotation between Harris, Xhekaj, and Kovacevic is interesting to me. And I think it makes a lot of sense. When you're these guys, you're these young rookies, experience is key, but it's nice to know that these are three guys with fairly different playstyles. Kovacevic is fairly smooth, big guy, doesn't hit a whole lot, but is just kind of solid, some offensive upside. Xhekaj's a big physical presence who has a pretty heavy shot and you can utilize that pretty well. Jordan Harris is more of a solid defenseman, a bit shorter, a bit faster, better skater than the other guys. And they all have their places in certain matchups with certain teams, as we'll get into in tonight's matchup versus Philly. So I thought it was interesting that he said it's just going to be a rotation. Whether the guys deserve it, who knows? We'll see, on any given night what we're going to do. And to expand on that, this is the quote I just brought up by accident, but anyway, we'll show it again. They're responsible for their confidence, and I think we've given them a ton with the opportunity we've given them, but they're still responsible for their confidence. Can we help that? Yeah, if they feel not confident, they're responsible to come talk it out, because I'll tell them how great they are. And I love hearing this. Coach Martin St. Louis knows that all these guys have been great so far this season. Scratching one of them is not saying you're playing poorly. I'd say it's more to say that in this specific matchup, we want to see maybe some other faces, and you get to observe, get to learn on the sideline, because St. Louis loves all these guys. They all deserve to play. They've all proven that they're NHL caliber defensemen, so it's always tough when you just have an overload of 8 defensemen. Harris and Weidman are out tonight, but they can both play NHL minutes, so it's tough. It's very interesting to see that he's just going with a rotation. Instead of just sending guys down, he's like, I just want to test them all out. We'll see what happens. And I think that's great for rookies. We get to mix and match some defensive pairings, maybe see where people thrive and they don't. He also went on later in this quote to say it's not going to be like a calendar type thing. Right? He's not going to say you're playing this day, you're playing this day. It's all going to come down to the matchups and how they play on the ice and in practice. So I thought that was really cool. That he's not just scratching people on calendar days. He's just testing them out. And tonight is a very good example of, one of these cases. Because as I mentioned, Jordan Harris is a bit smaller. And when we look into a preview of tonight's game, Habs versus Flyers, you look at a Philadelphia team. This Philadelphia team is big, they're gritty, they're bullies, right? They're out to be physical and to hit you. I mean, just look at their fourth line. Their fourth line alone has Nick Delorier and Patrick Brown. These guys are huge guys who are out to hit you, to be physical. Montreal's fourth line's not really grindy like that. Philadelphia, we're a fast team. They want to wear us down. We have some size on the back end, and we have a couple forwards who are big too, but they want to make us scared to come into their zone. They're not the most talented offensively or defensively for that matter, but they have some incredible goaltending so far this year, and Carter Hart should be starting tonight, I believe, and he has been one of the best goalies in the NHL to this point this season. Now, Philadelphia started hot. They've kind of petered off a little bit, but they're still a physical presence of a team with great goaltending. So what does Montreal need to do to counter that? They need some size. They need to be physical right back because they can't afford to be manhandled by this Philadelphia team. So that is just another reason why we keep Kovacevic and Arber Xhekaj in the lineup and we take Jordan Harris out. It's not because we don't think Harris is good enough to play. It's because specifically against this team in Philadelphia with defensemen with the likes of Ivan Provorov, Rasmus Ristolainen, and these forwards that I've mentioned before, they want to hit you big and they want to mess you guys up. They want to take advantage of the small guys, get them scared. But we want to do the same right back to them. We need guys that if there's a big hit or something, we need guys that are going to drop the mitts, are going to lay some big checks right back so that Philly doesn't gain the momentum. Other than that, other than being physical right back, what does Montreal need to do to win tonight? I think we need to attack Philadelphia's goalies early. We need to just really pressure them from the get-go. Because if you look at Philadelphia's forward core, while they have some talent, they're definitely not super deep when it comes to goal scoring. And Montreal has shown in many games this season, even though we have some low-scoring games, we're more than capable of scoring some goals. And Philadelphia's defense is, while it's okay, it's really not the best defensively, and I think we can really take advantage of that. We pressure Philadelphia hard, we force some turnovers, we play fast like we want to play, and we put shots on net from the get-go, and I think those are some keys to the Habs' success. Of course, Jake Allen's going to need to be good in net tonight. We can't afford him to have a stinker against Philadelphia, but if things go the way I think they will go tonight, Montreal should come out of this game with a win. As long as we don't let Philadelphia get the upper hand physically against us, I think this could be a fun night for us Habs fans. Unfortunately, there will not be a game review tonight. For those of you that were looking forward to that, me and probably Jesse will be here tomorrow to bring that to you, probably later in the day. Unfortunately, we both had prior commitments tonight and we couldn't get together to make a game recap, but we'll do something tomorrow for you guys. Don't worry about it. That's why we're getting a news video out now before the game starts. So we hope you had your fix for today. We want to keep that daily content streak going, and we hope you appreciate the effort. That'll do it for today's news edition of Habs Digest. If you liked the video, leave it a like. It helps us in the algorithm. Subscribe. We are on the road to 5,000 subscribers. You guys have been amazing. We'd love if you could subscribe if you haven't already. I'm your host, Josh Gosse. We'll catch you in the next video.